out before with Macomb College on the praise team, 2015, something like that. They've been there with the praise team and are, you could say, a product of our ABC ministries.
Amen.
And God is calling them now to a greater vision, and I'm going to shut up and let them talk. And then let the star of the show take center stage there. Of course, little Harper.
Something good to look at instead of us.
I think it's on. Good, good. Well, good morning. My name is Yuree Lembke, and my wife here.
Yuree Lembke. Yuree Lembke.
Yeah. So we're going to just share a little bit about how we got to this point, our call to be missionaries. I grew up in Wisconsin in an American Baptist church in Green Bay. And was involved in camping ministry in our regional Wisconsin camp every summer, going out there and being a cabin leader and being on summer staff, and spent a lot of time out there. And after I finished my first round of college, I traveled around quite a bit, but I found myself with an opportunity to study ministry down at Bacone. And I took the opportunity as a second bachelor, another round of college, and I thought, okay, I'll go there and I'll pursue, maybe youth pastor, or maybe be more involved in camping ministry. Get some good Bible education behind me to help me out, and then I would finally stop, running and doing secular jobs and answer a call to be involved in ministry more full time. So I went down to Oklahoma to Macomb College that I never heard of before, up in Wisconsin. It's not well known that was a American Baptist affiliated school. So I tried to look it up online a bit and see it, and I saw, it's a school for Native Americans, right? I think you guys are familiar with Macomb College. And well, I was like, okay, in Wisconsin we have Native American tribes that we're never taught about. So this is a great opportunity to find out about a people group that I didn't know about. So I went to Bacone, and at the age of 33, this will date me a little bit, I found myself living in a dorm, not with Native Americans, but with refugees from a country I'd never heard of. Who's heard of Burma? Anyone out there? Good, good. I think we've talked about Burma before. Do you know where it's located? Somewhere over there. I think he was going to put a map up there. It's between India and Thailand. There's a map of Thailand. You can see on the left side there. It's also referred to as Myanmar today. Burma is the British name. So I learned about these different ethnic groups, just a few of the 3 or 4 there that were represented of the 120 some ethnic groups in Burma. And it was the stories I heard, the stories of being forced out of their village and by gunfire, and having their homes burned down, and running in the jungle, and specifically one of the male students there was Corinne, and he remembered, because he was a little bit older, he remembered looking back and seeing his uncle shot dead and not being able to help him. So it's those stories that really touched my heart for the Corinne people specifically, and quickly became friends with the Corinne that were there at Bacone, along with some Chin students that were there, that also came here to sing with you guys. And I said, okay, Lord, I'll help the Corinne people. I feel that I can do something with them. But I can't do it alone. So I prayed and I said, Lord, send me a helpmate that will be a bridge between myself and the current people. And the next semester, a young lady named Mimi shows up at Bacone to study there. That's where you take over.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, before I become your citizen, my name is Mimi, but after when I become your citizen, I change my name to Yuree Lembke. Yes, then I become Yuree Lembke now. Yes, good morning everyone. Thank you for having us here. Glad to see everyone here today. I want to share a little bit story about myself. I originally was born in Myanmar, Karen state. And you can see close to like eastern Myanmar, close to Thailand. I actually was born in Karen state. It's not really like in a city or in a hospital. Actually, it's like a temporary refugee camp that while we're running, or while we fled from our home. I was born in that temporary refugee camp, which is really close to Myanmar and Thailand border. Pretty much I was born in the forest, in the jungle. Okay. I was born there, but we can't stay there for too long because of, the Burmese military keep coming and attacking the people that fled from their home. They just come after us, and if they caught us on the way, they will kill us. So it's really dangerous for us to stay in one place more than a year or more than you can. It's depend on how close they are approaching us. So we have to constantly keep moving toward Thailand because that was the safer place to go. So yes, my family ended up in one of the refugee camps. They end up in one of the refugee camp. We lived there, actually several refugee camps, but the really last one is a little bit longer because that refugee camp was located in Thailand already, just across the river to the other side from Myanmar. So it was about 15,000 people in the Melaun refugee camps that I lived. We lived there for 17 years. It was quite a long time. I pretty much grew up in refugee camp, Thailand. So all my life I know it's just refugee camps, not much of outside, didn't see too much things outside. I just traveled back and forth from refugee camp to Missouri, and just that's it. Life is just can't go more than that because because we were refugees, and if you try to go out and when Thai authority see you on the way and caught you, they will arrest you and put you in jail. So it's very risky to go outside, and a lot of refugees, it just become very difficult for them because live in refugee camp, they can't provide, we don't have job, and people can't work, so a lot of people are struggling, and sometimes it's like not a lot of food to eat at all. Sometimes we don't really know when is the next meal we come from. We just have to eat very little, like all the portion the food that people give it, we've given, we have to portion it out carefully, because if we eat too much and we might not have the next meal to eat, sometimes it's so difficult. And life in refugee camp is just like live in prison, or in there, inside of refugee camps, like you live in this town and you're not allowed to go outside. You only have to be inside. If you go out, and then somebody will arrest you outside of your town. Like that is so no freedom at all. And yes, I look back many years ago. I'm sorry. while we're running in the jungle, we don't have any food to eat. Because when you run, you can't bring the animals that you raise, like cattle or pig or chicken or goats, whatever. A lot of people have to abandon their animals because they can only run, their life, they have to survive. They have to run. A lot of people have home, but they have to abandon their home. The Burmese military came to their villages and just burned the house down, burned the church buildings down, and they just don't want people to come back to their home. When in the harvesting season, it's the crop they harvest, it's ready to go out and harvest, but the grain's yellow and it's dry, ready to harvest, but the Burmese military don't want people to go out and harvest. They just burn the entire field, burn all the food. So people are starving and hungry, of course, because they don't have food to eat. So it was some farmers, some Koreans that is a farm, they work in the field, they don't know that it's the Burmese military approached the home, the farm. Sometimes the Burmese just shot them in the field. They just want to go out and harvest their food, the grain, the rice, and yeah. So that's it. We don't have any other options. It's the only way that we have to do. We have to escape. We have to run. So there were a lot of villages, houses in Karen State, Myanmar, was abandoned. Everything's overgrown and trees, and we can't go back because the military, Burmese military, still come and occupy the land. And in order for us not to come back to a home, they put landmine around the villages. So you can't go back. If you go back, you will step on landmine and you will lose your legs. And there are so many people miss the home. They want to go back and go home and go see what is have left in the villages. So they go back and they accidentally step on the landmine and they lost their legs. So people are afraid to go home, and some of them they just don't want to go back anymore because they don't want to die. They don't want to lose their legs or step on landmine. So they decide just live in refugee camp. And a lot of people just all their life they know this refugee camps. So in 2007. We had this opportunity for refugees, to apply to resettle in different countries. So my family applied to actually many countries that is open up the country, welcoming refugees, because we don't have a home to go back and we can't go anywhere. We just like it just in refugee camps. So many countries open the country for refugees all around the world to come and start a life. Like Australia, Canada, America, also some countries in Europe. But I don't know, we talked about before we think about resettling to a different country. We're afraid because we worry because we don't know other country, how does it look like. And when we come, what we're going to do, we don't speak the language and we don't know about that country that we are going to. So we have to, it takes a long time for my family to make decision. Some people been already resettled and they contact family back in refugee camp and said that things are okay. There's a lot of work here, you can work and you can provide for your family. So people start thinking about more to resettle in different country because their families in America, here in Canada, they're doing fine. So so my dad and my family, everybody, we decide to apply. We can either apply to go to Canada or Australia, but for some reason we apply to come to America. We get the application and then fill out everything and go through that process to come to America. we started applying in 2007. Guess what year we get to come to America? Some of the ladies in here know, because I talk about this. We waited for 5 years. Since we applied in 2007, and we waited for 5 years. So we arrived in America in February 2012. It took us a long time. While we're waiting, when you ask God sometime, like, you want it now, you need it now, but God said no. No, sometimes it can be like a week, 2 weeks, a month, a year, but this is 5 years. And I wonder, is God, are you still there? You still listening to us? I have a lot of questions with God. I have a lot of conversation with God during that time. I was like, I want to go now, God. What happened? What's going on? But, God keep the promise. He always keeps the promise. He's always loved us. And I believe that God has not abandoned the refugees, the Korean people that is still struggling and running from their home because of the killing, persecution, and oppressions. Yes. And after 5 years, and we arrived in Huron, South Dakota, which is really different kind of weather for us. It was really cold. In Thailand, it's like always like, the coldest is like, in cold season, is like 55 degrees at night. That's it. During the day, 65, 70. It was nice. But the people in Thailand, they wear coats when 55 degrees, 65 degrees, because it was really cold for them over there. So I didn't expect it's going to be this cold in February in Huron, South Dakota. So when we came, we only wear flip-flop and no coats on. We don't know that it's going to cold. So when we arrived in Huron, kids worker lady brought a bag of coats for us and proper shoes. I'm like, yes, we need that. Please give me one. I need it now. It's so cold. Yes, that was a shock for us. And then, after that, we have to adjust to a new life in America here and the language. We just don't know how to speak English. So everywhere we go, every time we needed paper to go to doctor, or go to dentist, there are certain, as refugees and newcomers, when you come to America, you have to do a certain paperwork so that you don't get deported, so you don't get in trouble, So we have to go through all that to get our social security cards, to get your IDs and everything. Sometimes we don't know how to do those. We didn't even speak and read and write English. So yes, I can speak some words like introduce myself, hi, hello, my name's blah, blah, but it's not like a lot. So we're struggling in the beginning. Sometimes we would call a translator to help us, to take us to even go shopping. We don't know how to shopping. We don't even know how to spend money. Like, have to learn, like, this is quarter, this is penny, this is okay, then we start to learn about that. It's pretty quick. But the struggle is like, we still need help. So we have to call a translator all the time. Our translators sometimes don't have time for us. So I have getting frustrated. Okay, I need to learn English myself. At that time, I was 20 years old. And I think I'm still young. I still can learn, right? I'm 20. So everybody can learn. It doesn't matter how old you are. So I talked to my kids worker. I said that I want to go to school because it has become so hard for us, for my family. We need help all the time. Sometimes we understand that people don't have time for us to help us. So I want to go to school myself. I want to improve my English and I want to learn more. So he said, okay, there's a school in Nemo, South Dakota. I can help you apply. Then he applied and he helped me to apply. And and then after a month, as I'm working in one of the grocery store in Huron, South Dakota, 1 month, and then he came to the grocery store and said, Yuree, the school accepted you. I'm like, really? Like, you can go to school now. So you have to travel, so you have to quit your job first. And I'm like, okay. I was so excited to go to school. Yes, and then after a month working in that little grocery store in here in South Dakota, I went there to Nemo, South Dakota to start the school. Yes, after that 2 years, I graduated from there and I received my high school diploma and CNA. And then yet, I'm still, after I graduate, I came back to Huron, South Dakota. I don't know what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do? I mean, I have CNA, but I really want to work there. Let's try to apply for jobs, you know, and then my sister, then I talked to my sister, and my sister said, well, you don't want to come live in Wilma, Minnesota, you know, come find a job here. And I'm like, that's interesting, I can go there. And then I just, I believe my brother-in-law gave me a ride to Minnesota, which is really close to South Dakota, like 3.5 hours. So I started my job at Wilma Poultry, work in the barn, taking care of little turkey. So when they grow older, they ship them to processing plants so they can process. Yeah, so I work in the barn, big barn. 2 barns actually, 2 sides. One is tall, one is hen, you know, boy and girl, so they separate them. So I worked there for 3 months, and then one of my friends, I'm still thinking about, you know, to continue my education. I'm still thinking about, I want to go to college. I don't want to stop here, you know. I still want to learn. So I was thinking about going to college, but I don't know which college I want to go to. Because I don't know, there are, of course, like thousands of colleges in America, but I got to find one to go, you know. So I don't know, at that time I'm still searching for school, and still, it was a transition of my life, really, after 2 years being in that school. So I went to Garden City, Kansas, somewhere around here, and my friend said, you can come here and work, and I ended up working at the processing plant at Tyson. Just package the meat all day. Sometimes the beef just pile up like a mountain, and I had to hurry, like pack it, like hurry. Sometimes I was really slow, so the other ladies would come over and help me pack, you know, the meat into the package. And I'm like, okay, this is, you know, I like it, and I worked there for 4 months. While I'm working there, one of our teachers asked me and recommended me the school called Bacon College in Oklahoma. I'm like, okay. Bacon College, Oklahoma, where is it? So I'm looking at the map, American map, and then I see Oklahoma. I'm like, okay, not too far from here, you know. And so I applied, and then after a month, Leroy Thompson, Dr. Leroy Thompson, does anybody know Leroy Thompson?
Yeah.
Yes, he called me and said, I heard about you. I see your application and you want to come and study here. I said, yes. And he said, talk about scholarship and things. I don't really understand much at that time. I was on the phone on the way to work, and I just talked to him. And he said, you can come. And then, okay. Then, well, before I go to college, I have to take my ACT test. So I just make schedule and, you know, take the ACT test in Garden City, Kansas. And then, yes, after that, I went to Bacon in 2015 in spring, and I start school. Okay, when I first get there, okay, I saw this man working. Everybody come say hi to new students, you know. So I was a new student, so everybody come by and say hi, hello, and introduce myself, and introduce themselves. And then he show up and walking into the hallway, and I say, whoa, I don't really like him, you know. So I say, hi, he looks very polite, okay, very nice. And I say hi at that time, and he said, okay, hello, you know, I'm going to help you to get to know what's on campus here and show you, because I don't understand, like, where the classes are, and I don't know that.
I was a student coach.
Yeah, student coach.
And she's my coachee, so I was supposed to help her.
Yes, so he's supposed to help me. Yes, and then at first, my first semester, I don't really know what major I'm going to enroll in, because I'm still like, not sure what I really want to do. But okay, let's go safe, let's go to a business degree. So I enroll in business degree and I start classes. But as my first semester went on, and I get to spend time with, involved in Bacon College Baptist Church on campus. I get to worship with other students at Bacon hours, and we practice music and praise music. I play guitar a little bit, and then I enjoy doing ministry, actually involved in church. And I like it. I like to, sing, and I like to help out in church, like anything. I like to do it, So I always being around churches and working with Pastor Kyle Taylor and help. And I start to, and also we are travel and visit churches. I think we came here before 5 years ago, and we sing here, right? And then I start to experience something change in my heart, something that is spiritually grow, of course, because I don't really like, in the past, I'm not really like a church going person, I'm Christian, but I'm going to church, I'm just not really take God serious. I love God, I believe in God, but I'm too busy with life or whatever, sometimes you forget about God sometimes. And you know that God's there, but you're too busy sometimes, and you don't think about building relationship with God stronger. So, but since I get involved in ministry and in church, on campus, and I just feel like God is speaking to my heart. And I know that it's something, I know, at that time I was not really sure, what I still want to do in my life as a young lady. I was 22 at that time, 22, almost 23. And after a semester, before second semester, we have conversation, we sit down and talk. I had a chance to talk to Eric and ask about what is Christian ministry program, what is that about, And he talked about Christian ministry program and said that it's, that's study ministry, so you can serve the Lord, and like what classes you have to take. I'm like, oh yeah, you have to take this class. He explained it to me, and I feel like, wow, I really want to change my major after first semester. And then, of course, after the first semester, my second semester, before I start, I enrolled in Christian ministry program. Totally changed my major from business to Christian ministry. So I know that God is doing something in my life, and He is faithful. And I believe that my family and many survive in the jungle. It's not just try to survive from the Burmese military, but also from the disease like malaria. Malaria is very common in Asia. A lot of people had malaria and didn't survive. But my family and I survived. And we here in America, we don't have to be afraid of our life anymore. And I believe that God is doing something for us. And He protects us all along the way. And I'm sorry. And I know that God has a plan for me, which is not my plan. I didn't plan to go back to refugee camp to Thailand. No way. That was the place that I always want to get away from. Because I don't want to live in a refugee camp every day and seeing the same thing every day and struggling every day. That kind of life, I don't want to see anymore. It's a bad memories, right? But also a lot of good things happen, of course. I don't want to go back, but here, after being in Bacon and studying our ministry, I start to realize that God is calling me to do something, to go back and serve the refugees in refugee camp and along Thailand and Myanmar border. I don't understand. today I understand that is God is protected me and my family all the way from the home to the jungle and to refugee camp in Thailand and to America. We survive and we make it here. So God's prepared me all along the way to know, to let us know, to let me know that He is love us. He's loved everyone. Whoever loves Him, He will love them. Whoever stay with Him and be with Him and be still in their faith, God will protect and will lead us and guide us. I believe that. So it is time for me. It is kind of funny because I don't really want to go back. When I first came here, I'm like, I'm fine here. I'm fine, see? I can work here, I can build my life here. But this is not what God wanted me to be here. It's been 10 years, yes, God had prepared me for so many years, and prepared me to serve Him. So it's time for me to go back and serve the people. So God has a good sense of humor sometimes, like, oh no, you gotta go back. And yes, and I said, I don't want to. And then the boy just keep coming, yes, you have to. So it's time for me to go back and go back and serve Him and go share the gospel. Go share about the good news. Go share about the love of Christ and hope that is, even though we don't have a home anymore, even though we live in uncertainty of life and future, but God has not abandoned us. God still loves us, and He will protect us along the way. I want to go back and share that message to all the Korean people that is still running and fear for their life. So thank you very much for welcoming us and having us allow us to share this message of hope and message of what God has done for us in our life. Thank you so much.
I never know how much Yuree is going to share in her story, but it's so powerful when you hear the real story of their life. And it's stories just like Yuree's. They're so common. It's the same story I heard before I met her. And we're being called together to go serve. We didn't know really what that meant. We obviously we've been married now. We got married down in Bacone. We have a beautiful child over there. And so we took the first steps as a married couple to discern our call to ministry together by going to the American Baptist Hear the Call event for those that are wanting or looking to see if they're being called to international ministries. So we did that back in 2018. While Yuree was still in school. And at that time, we were able to talk to some of the area coordinators, and it was quickly identified that a priority in both of our lives is education.